Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Andrea. I'm from the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, also known as HD. I work in the Philippines, and that is specifically the map of southern Philippines where the conflict is. It's one of the longest running conflicts in the world between the MILF and MNLF and the government, which are Muslim separatist groups from way back the 60s, and they are now transitioning into an autonomous government. So we are helping these rebels transform into their own leaders in an autonomous government. So I'm speaking on behalf of my team back in the Philippines, especially in Mindanao. Oops. So the context of this talk is really the exacerbation of government's challenges by the pandemic. So the new government was established in 2018, 2019, and almost after 3 years, it is facing a lot of challenges, especially delivering the gains of the peace process. People expect that after the peace agreements have been signed, that they would feel the economic gains of having a peace process. So these frustrations may lead to an erosion of trust in this already vulnerable community. And then you added COVID to that, and people were really dissatisfied. They were feeling the effects of COVID. So the question for HD at this point was, how can we counteract this fragility? Because like I said, we are a mediation organization working behind the scenes to go between governments and the armed groups who are turning into their own government as well. So for us, the solution to this was to contribute to inclusive governance, because this is really a big thing in the Philippines, especially in this conflict with 19 tribes in the map that I just showed you. So there are different struggles within those. So the two things that I would mention here is that we introduced deliberative democracy techniques. This is a place that feels that they should only listen to their leaders, and whatever mandate comes from the leaders is what they have to adhere to. And you have a society also that is very much not dominant, especially with the women, with the people with disabilities, the other minorities. And then the methodology that we used is a use of online tools. But I want to say that this is really very simple for us. I know that we've listened to a lot of workshops with more sophisticated tools, but this one is really very basic. So in the Philippines, we use Facebook and Messenger a lot. And at one point, the Philippines was the largest user of Facebook and Messenger in the entire world. So you could just see how crazy we are with that. But that also means that a lot of fake news goes around, especially during COVID. A lot of fake news on vaccines, on government support, and all of that. And that was sowing a lot of division. So that's just a screenshot of a group that we had created for the people we were consulting. I couldn't really show the messages, and we would not be able to understand them anyway, but I will explain the process that we did for this. So when we piloted the online deliberation process during COVID, these are the steps. The first is we recruited through a random sample, and I really want to emphasize that this is the inclusive tool that we use to make sure that everyone is represented in that map I just showed you. Random sampling is, of course, not knowing who your chosen participants are, but rather gathering it from a pool of data, of names, and checking whether people are interested to participate. So we first got their names from a survey that we had commissioned, and we asked people for consent whether they would like to join another survey, whether they would like to join another study we were doing. So we got that express consent from them. After we had talked to these 700 people, some of them naturally, dropped out, didn't want to join, couldn't join because of their jobs. We set up these messenger chat groups according to geography. So you already saw the map that I sent, that I put there, and it's 5 provinces across that big region. So that means that these people also spoke different languages just in the Philippines. So we wanted to understand specific issues of these groups. That's why we made sure to group them according to geography. The third is we discussed most prevalent economic issues like how is it with you losing your jobs? What is the situation on employment, and how are you getting your goods in the area? This is far from the capital. Take note, it is in the southernmost of Philippines, so the access is really far different from the capital, where I am from, where HD is operating in. And lastly, after we had chatted with these people, so personally, I moderated a lot of those discussions. We consolidated their responses and provided the input directly to the Minister for Labor. So we really became honest with government, with who I told you who were previously armed group leaders, armed group members, transitioning to government, and told them that this is how your people feel about your economic opportunities. This is how people feel about losing their jobs and also losing trust in the new government that you have. So the picture doesn't show anyone online because we did like a hybrid. We had an online discussion, which is what I'm talking about. But later, when the pandemic sort of lifted, we also did an in-person deliberative democracy process or technique. So I'm here to share some lessons learned because most of you are really more, technologically advanced than we are in this kind of, approach to peace. But I just want to say that deliberations in local languages are helpful, as many probably could relate if you are in regions or in countries that are multilingual. I personally only speak 2 languages in the Philippines, and many of them speak others. So we did get facilitators, people to transcribe, and all of these resources, just to make sure that there are no barriers for participants. Second is to find means to demand action from government more quickly. We did present to the minister, but sometimes we are met with responses just saying, yes, thank you for this, HD, good work, you should do it again, but we want something more sustainable. We want this kind of model to really come from government. And that leads me to the third lesson that I learned. Digital consultations are a low-cost means of reaching more constituents. So we have a culture in Mindanao, also in the Philippines, that people who get to participate in conferences and workshops are all those people who are dominant in society, those who have access to that privilege. So you hear the same voices. So I really want to emphasize that, aside from being low cost, because we only supported them with mobile load, with phone credit to join us online, we were also able to reach constituents who really lived in far-flung places, who would need to take a boat or, whatever other non-conventional means just to reach venues like this. So that was really important to us in our push for inclusion. So that ends my short talk. Please feel free to come find me later because I would really love more input because, as I said, this is just the beginning of what we're trying to do in the Philippines in terms of digital inclusion. So maraming salamat. Let's thank you in my language. Thank you. Woo!